What is happening, y'all? It's Super2 here, and it has been a couple of days since I have gone to see the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which has been a movie that I have been greatly anticipating since its announcement. And I have a lot of thoughts that I want to share, and now that I am done being absolutely bombarded with college work, I can finally, do that. So I'm just gonna have some footage of me and my brother Pizza Koopa in the background playing through the Mario Wonder DLC, because if I post any sort of video of the movie, the Nintendo will nuke me. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that. But without further ado, let's just get right on into it. So I have a list of things that I want to go over, some talking points, just to sort of keep things coherent and so I don't kind of stray off into who knows what. But first and foremost, the movie, oh man, it looks absolutely stunning. Seeing the movie in theaters on the big screen, like, you honestly forget that this is still being animated by Illumination, because Illumination doesn't exactly do a lot of high, I wouldn't say quality animation, but you can just tell that they really put in the extra effort for this movie, just like they did with the first Mario movie, but like they really went ham with this one. Like, man, I just gotta give props to the animation team for what they've done, because they really have made an absolutely stellar experience. But another thing I want to get out of the way real quick, and it's kind of one of the, I would say maybe a contentious talking point amongst people who have seen the movie, and that would be the amount of like references and callbacks that are in the movie, which, me being a huge Nintendo fan, a huge Mario fan, I absolutely love them. Just seeing all the different callbacks to various games in the series, it really warmed my heart to see, man. Like, it really takes me back to when I was just playing a whole assortment of like either Mario games or just other games from Nintendo, and I still do play them to this day. But it really does kind of take me back to my childhood, seeing all these things like on the big screen, and it just made the experience all the more better. I'll talk about like specific references later on, since they are kind of in the spoiler-y category, which I guess I should say that right now. I will be talking about spoilers in regards to the movie, so if you have not seen the movie yet, then get out of the video, go see the movie, come right back, and yeah, I will see you then. But for everyone else who has seen the movie, or maybe simply doesn't care about the spoilers, let's just continue on. So the characters in the movie, I think overall have been handled pretty well, given everything that was going on. I do have some critiques for some characters that I will go into, but I think they did at least a pretty decent job with all of them. The Mario Bros, I love them. That like there really isn't too much new there, except the fact that Luigi's a part of the adventure now, so you get to see a lot more of him and his interactions, which were all pretty great. So it's just nice to see like the bros actually being the bros and adventuring together. And there's this like little side plot of like Mario having feelings for Peach, even though Nintendo has been saying that, oh no, Mario and Peach are friends. Looks like they're kind of going back on that, at least for the movies, but that's neither here nor there. And I guess that was kind of a little fun side plot that was going on. Didn't really go anywhere like too extensive, but it's what you would expect for Mario at the end of the day. And I think the standouts of the movie would be the new characters that got introduced. First and foremost being none other than Yoshi, who I still can't believe is voiced by Donald Glover, but here we are. And honestly, they did such a fantastic job with Yoshi, man. Like, I will say, I have not always been like the biggest Yoshi fan. Like, I always enjoyed Yoshi, but I haven't had the same love for him like a lot of other people do. But man, this movie really made me love Yoshi so much more. Like, he was absolutely adorable. He was just funny. A lot of the jokes that he was in just kind of like, you know, they really hit the mark. And in general, he was just such like a pleasant part of the movie. Like, they did the absolute best they could have done with Yoshi. I feel like they really knocked it out of the park in that regard. I have absolutely no complaints in regards to how Yoshi was handled. And another character that I would say I was pretty surprised at how well they handled him was Bowser Jr., because he was kind of being set up as the sort of main antagonist of this movie, and that is kind of the case for the majority of the film. He does sort that like primary antagonist role, but there is a good amount of nuance to him and how he just simply wants to, you know, be with his father and live up to his ambitions. And, you know, it creates some very heartwarming moments between, you know, him and Bowser, or just him kind of reminiscing on like the bedtime stories that his father would tell him. Like, I think they did a pretty good job setting up Bowser Jr.'s character in this movie, you know, and made him actually, you know, an enjoyable character as a whole. And of course, I do have to talk about Rosalina, who, at least in the beginning of the movie, was absolutely just like she was pretty awesome, man. Like, you know, just seeing her motherly side with the Lumas, and then to her just absolutely tearing apart Mega Leg, at least in the beginning portions, was that was pretty dope. But of course, we all know how crazy OP she is, so they kind of had to sideline her for the majority of the film, unfortunately. I do think that, you know, a lot of people, you know, are in the right in how, like, they were disappointed with how Rosalina was one of the main characters being promoted for this movie, and for her only having a total of like 10 minutes of screen time, it feels bad, man. They definitely, I feel like, could have done a lot more with her, you know, to really give the fans what they want, you know. Like, it's awesome that she's here, but being a Mario Galaxy movie and all, I feel like she should be one of the main, like, focal points. I don't think she should have been captured by Bowser Jr. and, you know, or at the very least not captured for as long as she has been and used for her power. I think instead they should have brought in the Power Stars from Galaxy, or like the Grand Star. They should have captured Rosalina and interrogated her to know the location of the Grand Star. And then once they know where that is, then they just kind of, you know, I don't know, either toss her off or, you know, just kind of are done imprisoning her. Or at the very least, she should have been released earlier so she could have helped out, you know, Mario and gang, you know, stop Junior and his schemes. But I'm not sure if she will be in the next Mario movie, which, I mean, obviously there will be a next Mario movie. But if she does end up being in the next movie, I do hope they give her some more screen time. But given what we know, I don't know if that will really be the case, but we will just have to wait and see. But for the scenes that she was in, she was pretty epic, I will say. I just wish we got more of her, is all. Now, this is a character that I don't think anyone would have expected to be in the movie until Nintendo themselves just kind of spoiled it for us. And that is freaking Fox McCloud, dude. And man, I gotta say, they did that boy right, dude. Like, his introduction his voice acting, yo, big shout outs to Glenn Powell for, you know, getting Fox in the movie to begin with and just bringing so much life into the character, absolutely nailing his personality. Like, he was just so cool, dude. And they make a whole bunch of jokes about him being cool, but he just genuinely was cool, man. And of course, I love the whole barrel roll references and whatnot. The backstory animation, that was absolutely peak, dude. We need a Star Fox movie or show animated in that style, because it was so sick. I was not expecting to see the whole gang show up. Got Falco, we got Peppy, we got Slippy. Like, man, that was, yo, me and my bros, we were popping off in the theater when we saw that. That was sick. Like, man, they really did Fox right. I can't really say that enough, considering he hasn't been in anything for like the past decade plus. Like, this is a grand return for the character, and I really hope they, you know, capitalize on that, man. All right, so I'm gonna go still talk about the characters, but just go into little minor things I enjoyed. So there was the montage of Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi doing a whole bunch of levels around the Mushroom Kingdom. That was awesome to see. You know, it was a very fun moment, like seeing little gags and whatnot. And it's just like, you know, it just warms my heart, dude. Just, you know, seeing all of this, you know, all this like game stuff being turned into an actual like film is like, it's crazy. I never would have thought I'd see anything like this on this level as a kid. Oh yeah, the whole section with like Wart and, you know, Peach absolutely putting belt to ass. But yeah, no, she was great. I forgot to talk about Peach and Toad, but yeah, no, they were pretty great, you know, as always. You know, of course, this version of Peach is very, very well trained. She is not the same Peach that we see in the games. This is like Super Princess Peach, but like on steroids. So yeah, no, she just went absolutely crazy in the whole, like, I guess Wart's Casino, which, by the way, Wart's back. That's crazy. He hasn't been in a game in like over like 30 years or so, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, no, he was great. Although I would have liked to see him actually, you know, fight. He kind of just got no diff by Peach, which, I mean, yeah, that was gonna kind of happen, but, you know, I would have liked him to do a little bit of something. He just kind of sent all of his ninja squad out to deal with her and Toad, and they just kind of handled that. And, you know, Birdo and Mauser, they were kind of, they're just jobbers, bro. Like, I don't know what else to say. They got absolutely smacked up, and yeah, that was pretty much the end of that scene. But it was really cool. It was really nice to see him actually, you know, be back in some way, shape, or form, and I hope he does return to the games as well. Maybe he'll come back in the third movie, who knows. But it was just cool to see him back, all things considered. So this, all right, here we go to, like, I guess I'm just kind of skipping over to like the end in terms of like the cool stuff, because, you know, this is like this is the real spoilers heavy stuff. So I guess if you, again, don't want to be spoiled on this stuff, then, you know, click off the video, come right back once you've seen the movie, and yeah, we'll just talk about it. So, all right, Dry Bowser's in the movie, which, you know, I wasn't really expecting, but at the same time, I feel like it was only a matter of time before that happened. So yeah, we do get Dry Bowser, and, you know, we have the bros and Yoshi fighting off against him and Junior. And in one section, Junior drops the paintbrush. There's like EGAD paintbrush that he uses for all of his stuff, and Luigi ends up grabbing it, and he tries to paint something up himself. And who else would have popped up than freaking Mr. Game & Watch? Bro, I can't even speak now, because just thinking about it is absolutely crazy. We were just absolutely screaming in the movie theater, like, bro, what is Game & Watch doing here? Like, hello? And then he went up and he parachuted over Bowser. I was getting PTSD from the ultimate days of that parachute, bro. It was like, oh man, I was reliving memories. And then he hit him with that down smash. We thought he was gonna hit him with a 9. That would have been extra hype if he hit him with the 9, but he didn't, unfortunately. But just Game and Watch being there that was such a sick little reference. Like, I don't think anyone was prepared to see that. And then, you know, we get to sort of like the climax, and Junior out of nowhere just summons the dragon from Mario Odyssey. Like, okay, dude, that's insane. Just seeing that pop up, I was like, whoa, okay, they're going all out when it comes to, you know, bringing all the games together. And then, you know, that kind of backfires on Junior because, you know, the dragon tries to eat him up. And then, oh man, this one really hit home for me, dude. This one really hit for me personally. When Mario hit the power block and he got the red star, dude. The red star? Like, you have no idea how obscure of a power-up the red star is. It only appears in Mario Galaxy 1. You can only use it in 2 levels. One being the Comet Observatory, which I don't even know if you can consider that a level. It's just the sort of hub world. And then one level where you just get a bunch of purple coins for the star. The fact that they brought that back into this movie, man. Oh man, it was so sick to see. Like, the look that Mario gets when he gets a red star is still to this day one of the cleanest looks he has ever gotten when he powers up. And I really would love them to bring it back, but I guess that would only happen in like a game that's either related to Mario Galaxy or literally you just get Mario Galaxy 3. Like, come on, I think it's about time we get ourselves Mario Galaxy 3. Like, with how much is being promoted right now, like, man, they've gotta have it like in the works or something, bro. Like, oh man, that really took me back, because that back in the day, that was like one of my favorite power-ups from playing through Galaxy, even though you can only use it so limitedly. And wow, that was something else, man. Seeing that in theaters, like, I was screaming my head off. And then we're just gonna, you know, we're gonna skip past, you know, the, I guess, ending real quick, because we get to like the second post-credits scene, and they did it, man. We got Daisy being revealed. I mean, I figured that it would be the case if this movie was gonna have Rosalina and Peach, Daisy had to come sooner or later. And she showed up, and honestly, she looks fantastic, dude. And it kind of hints that the third movie might just take place in Sarasaland, or at least have Sarasaland be like a main focal point of the story. And we may potentially, because I don't think we'll be seeing Bowser and Bowser Jr. be like the main antagonists again. If we do, that'd be kind of lame. I wouldn't mind them being in the movie, but I just would want them to kind of play like a sort of a backseatish role. I want the main antagonist to be Wario and Waluigi, dude. Like, come on, that would be the absolute best time to bring them into the movie franchise, and I think they would serve as a great antagonistic duo. Like, the jokes that could be made between the two would be absolutely sublime. And also, I would just like to see some interactions between Daisy and Luigi, because Luigi did hint at like, hey Mario, you know, once you get with Peach, maybe she can, you know, introduce some of her friends to me, you know? And I think that right there was kind of hinting at Daisy's reveal at the end. So that was pretty fun. But wow, it's almost been 20 minutes, dude. I've just been kind of gushing about all the stuff I loved about the movie. I haven't even gotten to like the, I guess, the critique part of the movie. I mean, I've talked about some critiques, but you know, nothing really major. So, all right. So the big story critiques, because this is very contentious between the people who have seen the movie. And one thing I will agree with is that maybe they might have gone a little too overboard when it comes to trying to cram all the references in. And they probably should have at least focused on having a little bit more of a coherent story, because we did kind of go all over the place. But, you know, with how fast everything is going, it's like you don't really notice it all too much until, like, you know, you kind of think back on it. But I do think they, as much as I absolutely love the references, some of them could have been, pulled back and, just focus more on, a lot of the proper story elements of the movie. And I think one of the, best examples was probably the Yoshi's Island scene. Like, that whole chasing segment, I think I could have done without for the movie. I think I would have had another sort of scene in place of that to sort of, have some more character interactions, sort of build upon their bonds and whatnot, instead of, having Mario, Luigi, Toad turn into babies and, Yoshi having to babysit them for a bit until, they actually, get off the planet. But, that's neither here nor there. It's not like super offensive, but it's just something like, okay. It just kind of feels like filler to me, besides the fact that they wanted to include something related to Yoshi's Island. But, yeah. And then I guess another thing about the story that kind of made me go like, what? In the theater was, Peach and Rosa being related. I'm not too surprised about that. That's, it kind of is a nod to like all the theories back in the day of like either Peach being the mother of Rosalina and whatnot, but instead they are sisters in this movie. So that's all well and good. I'm completely fine with that. Peach had this kind of arc going on where she wanted to, know about her origins and her family, and that's kind of what's driving her in this movie. But the fact that they were both made out of stardust is kind of like, okay. Like, I feel like there could have been a better way to sort of explain their origins besides like, oh yeah, they just kind of existed, It would have been cool to see if there was like a, proper family that just kind of, they were separated from and then they only had each other. But, I don't know how to feel about it personally. It's something that I'll have to get used to. Again, this is only for like the movie continuity. This isn't gonna apply to like the main games in any way unless they say so. But I just feel like they could have figured something else out. I feel like it was also an excuse for them to have Rosalina be captured in the first place instead of, having a grand star in place of her. But okay, I'll move on. And then Bowser had this sort of arc where he was kind of actually, changing. They talk about him going to therapy and whatnot, and it seems like he's actually, becoming like a better guy. And then, once his son comes back into the equation, he wants to be a good father to him. But, with all the stuff that he's taught Junior over the years, he's, he's pretty much a villain. So, like, he kind of has to choose, like, does he choose between his new friends, or does he, go back to being a villain with his son and, actually, be a dad again? And, of course, at the end of the day, he does choose to be that. But I just feel like the switch up was, I don't know, it was a bit rushed. It was kind of like, there wasn't really a room for, like, extra thought between him and, like, becoming a villain again. Like, he just kind of became the villain again because he had to, not necessarily because he wanted to. Like, there was a scene where he kind of looked at his army, he looked at his son, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is where I belong and whatnot. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but I feel like they could have expanded a bit more on that. But, I think a good scene would have been if, I don't know, he saw Junior fighting the bros and him, like, struggling for a bit, and just seeing his boy, getting hurt just makes him go like full dad mode, and he's like, no, yeah, I gotta stick up for my son, I gotta be with my family, and then I think that would have been a better sort of like converting point for him rather than what actually took place. But again, I've only seen the movie once. I'd have to rewatch it again just to, solidify my thoughts. But that was just something else that I kind of thought to myself, like, I feel like that could have been handled a bit better. But, I'm not gonna really do some major pushback on it. But it is something that I would have liked to see improved upon. Oh yeah, I can't believe I completely forgot to talk about the OST of the movie, because that has to be one of the strongest parts of the movie as well. The orchestral themes of, the various different galaxy levels and just Mario themes from across the series, like, they were absolutely stunning, man. I loved all of them. Like, they were all just so good. Like, they had like little motifs here and there for like Super Mario World, Mario Bros 3. Like, it's everything I could ask for, man. Like, if you haven't watched the movie at all, or if you're gonna rewatch the movie, focus on the OST, because they really knocked it out of the park in that category as well. But with all that being said, what are my final thoughts on the Super Mario Galaxy movie? In spite of all the criticisms I had with it, I freaking love this movie, man. It really warmed the soul, honestly. Like, this, again, was definitely a celebration for the 40th anniversary of Mario and just celebrating Nintendo as a whole. And you can really feel a lot of the, you know, love that went into this movie. Like, in spite of, you know, its like story flaws. Like, it was just such a fun experience all the way through around that a lot of these like critiques I have can easily be kind of like, I wouldn't say blown aside, but I just wouldn't dwell on them too much when I'm just having such a good time. And it really, like, the whole way through the movie, I had the biggest smile on my face, like the biggest I've had in quite a while, dude. And it was just such an awesome experience, you know, seeing it with my two brothers and one of my best bros, Roxas. Like, it was such a fantastic experience. It was absolutely wonderful, very nostalgic, and it was just, you know, made for some great memories, man. You know, I absolutely loved every minute of it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say in regards to the movie. You know, I would have loved to have this video come out sooner, but, you know, college. But I'm just happy I was able to, you know, get my thoughts out there, and I'm just curious on what your guys' thoughts are on the movie as a whole. Like, you know, did you also feel like the story could have been better in some aspects, or what, you know, references did you enjoy seeing, and, you know, all that other good stuff. But I think I've been here for long enough. I think this is where I will end things here. This video will probably come out like a day before Pokemon Champions release, which I've been very much anticipating as well. So I'm going to be streaming that game once it drops. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, be sure to do so. I cover basically all you could think about when it comes to like Nintendo content. And, you know, Pokemon's also, you know, a part of that sort of branch. So yeah, expect to see a good amount of Pokemon on the channel, at least in the future, until, you know, we finally get that Nintendo Direct. Nintendo, what are we doing here? But yeah, that will pretty much be it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you all next time. Take care, y'all.